My name is Lily. I received my bachelor's degree in interdisciplinary studies with a concentration in bicultural bilingual studies from the University of Texas at San Antonio. I have returned to my alma mater and am enrolled in the master's program with a degree concentration in literacy education, working towards a reading specialist certification. I have fond memories of visits to the public library and getting lost while reading Judy Blume, Beverly Cleary, and Laura Ingalls Wilder. I must ensure my students get a quality literacy experience while in my classroom. I want them to fall in love with reading and learn of the far-off places they can escape to, as well as delve into the subjects that interest them that hopefully will get them closer to their future success. As a dual language teacher, I must ensure the texts I choose are relevant to the cultures of my students. It is also of importance that I teach them the correct forms of both languages, so that they will be able to transfer their knowledge from language to language with ease. Reading opens the door for a world of opportunities and appears through all content areas. Because of this, I wanted to learn as much as I can about literacy to ensure a solid foundation for my students. I have also received several opportunities of providing professional development for the educators of my district and campus, allowing me to experience what it is like to teach adults. This year, I will be teaching the youngest of our students in a dual language Head Start unit. Becoming a reading specialist allows me to combine my love for reading and my passion for teaching and learning. I have always viewed myself as a lifelong learner. Pursuing my master's degree allows me to advance my training as the educational system is evolving. Golden, Anion, and Frere have provided research for educators to become aware of the socio-political nature of education. Golden educates us on the history of education and the foundation in which it is built. She includes many significant dates and ensures that we are aware of the injustices that occurred throughout the history of education and how individuals had to fight for equity. Also shared with us is the laws passed and how our educational system continues to progress. As educators, we need to learn about the history of education and understand how our education has continued to evolve and be aware that the same injustices do not repeat themselves in the future. Frere introduces us to oppression and the importance of individuals to stand up and fight against their oppressors. If individuals do not use their voice against their oppressors, they will not be able to make a change within their own lives. Frere also allows us to reflect on the teaching methods we use in our classrooms. The banking concept of education is where an educator feels they must deposit knowledge into their student. The educator leaves no room for inquiry or experimentation. He also explains that problem-solving education allows teachers and students to become contributing parts of the teaching, working together to ensure both parties are learning and teaching. I know that I have been guilty of using the banking concept of teaching because unfortunately that is how I received my education. Thanks to the evolution of the educational system, I have learned and implemented problem-solving education in my classroom. My students and I are active partners in the classroom. Anion unveils the hidden curriculum that occurs within our educational system. Students from various social classes receive the education found appropriate for the social level of their family, therefore conditioning students for future employment and wages they will obtain. This hidden curriculum is a detriment to our students. They are not receiving the education they truly deserve, and the vicious cycle of poverty continues. I unfortunately have seen this hidden curriculum occur in several classrooms. I have always ensured to express to my students that they are capable of becoming whatever they choose to be. In utilizing Frere's problem-solving education, my students and I work together towards a successful future. Throughout this course, we have learned key aspects of foundational theories. Moran provided a brief history of how interdisciplinarity evolved, that everyone has something to learn from one another. Interdisciplinary is the incorporation of various content areas within a lesson. An example of interdisciplinary teaching would be teaching a science lesson on the effects of pollution on marine life, but incorporating reading strategies within. The lesson can be extended by incorporating other content areas such as math and social studies as well. Educators need to effectively plan lessons with a higher expectation so that students will make in-depth connections across the content areas and find relevance in their lives. Nisali further delves into interdisciplinarity and provides insights into interdisciplinarians and their studies. Everyone brings their own level of expertise. When allowing someone from a different subject to collaborate, they can see things from a different perspective. Students and teachers alike must understand that they can learn from each other in and out of the classroom. We must set the example for our students and show that we all learn from one another, and no one is an expert at everything. There are 6 foundational theories that were presented in this course. Skinner created the foundation of behaviorism. Students learn through positive reinforcements and rewards. They also learn to avoid consequences by exhibiting behavior the teacher is seeking. Teaching the behavior expectations explicitly, students are aware of the incentives and consequences for such behaviors. Children will then work towards receiving their incentives and avoid the consequences. I do agree with Skinner to a degree. Just as we scaffold lessons for our students, we also need to do the same for conduct. Piaget's theory of cognitive development contains 4 stages of development: birth to 2, sensory motor, where the world is experienced through senses and actions; 2 to 6, pre-operational, objects are represented with words and images; 7 through 11, concrete operational, where thinking logically about concrete events and grasping concrete analogies; and 12 through adulthood, formal operational, we're thinking about hypothetical scenarios and processing abstract thoughts. He believes that students must be able to explore with hands-on experiences, manipulatives, and experiments. Students will gain the knowledge as it is developmentally appropriate. This year, I will be learning and utilizing strategies to teach in the pre-operational stage and implementing language development and images as well as pretend play. Vygotsky's social constructivism view is that knowledge occurs within a group setting with the help of a well-informed peer within the zone of proximal development. Students learn best when they are placed within a supportive environment, and once they have learned the material, will be able to perform self-sufficiently. The teacher is the facilitator during these cooperative interactions and encourages discussion amongst the groups. The teacher provides assignments within the student's zone of proximal development, ensuring that the tasks are scaffolded to the needs of the individual students within the group. In my opinion, students are not allowed enough time to work in groups and learn from one another. Going back to Freire, we need to allow students the opportunity to problem solve and do so with their peers. The group discussions and working in groups will prepare them for higher education and the workforce. We have worked in groups throughout this course as well as in our careers as educators. Levin Wenger introduced us to situated learning. Students will perform better when surrounded by others who share the same interests. It provides learners a community in which they can learn in, forming relationships with other learners who have the same interest as themselves. This theory links to constructivism and andragogy, reminding me of Vygotsky's view of students working in a collaborative group. In my opinion, I feel that situated learning allows students to work towards a common goal, and in doing so, they will work harder to obtain that goal. Magnet schools operate in the same fashion. The students are provided a learning community to network and help one another out, all while working towards the same goal, just as our cohorts have done the same in our university setting. Pepper and Harrell introduced learning by play constructionism. This theory allows students to explore a variety of ways to build upon their learning. Students can construct and learn at the same time. Their curiosity will enable them to develop and learn. It is not set to only working with their hands, but also with technology. Students can create an object and apply technology to make it move. Students can learn to build and create applications, how to code, as well as build robots. They learn best when they think they are just playing, and even more so when allowed to explore and work on something they have interest in. Knowles introduces us to andragogy. In this study, we explore how the learning between an adult and child are not as transparent as one would think. Many times, many assumptions are made regarding an adult learner because they are older. Teachers need to see their students just as that, students, not adults or children. They still must scaffold and provide necessary strategies for the student to maintain success. Teachers and professors alike do the same to adult learners and forget that everyone has a specific learning style. Teachers and professors need not assume their students already know the content being presented. Also within this course, we learn about the key theories with respect to diverse educational context. Latin Billings teaches us that there is not an achievement gap, but an educational debt. Minorities must perform to the same academic standard as their white counterparts, yet they have not always received the same education. The thought-provoking component is that many want to hold the minorities responsible for the deficiencies, but do not want to look into the educational history of these minorities and the disparities they received. What also lacks is the financing that goes along with education. Low socioeconomic areas do not receive the same funding or resources as the more affluent areas. How are these students to perform at the same level when given so much less? Why are they blamed for deficits in our educational system when they do not have a say in what resources or funding they receive? It's no wonder why the students in my district face such a difficult time advancing and leaving the community to better themselves. I feel as they have been set up to fail and then get blamed for not having the same academic capacity as others, who have received the funds and resources needed to succeed. Lee discusses that the use of scaffolding by bringing in the students' cultural knowledge. By doing so, the students can receive the assistance they need while the lesson and strategies used are relevant to the students. When the teacher creates lessons that are culturally aware, the student can therefore see themselves in the lesson and will develop meaning and connections to the learning. Allowing our teaching to take on aspects of our students' culture not only builds relationships with our students, but also with their families. As a dual language teacher, utilizing this form of scaffolding allows a partnership with the parents for the common goal of success for their child. We must value the culture of our students and ensure we make our lessons culturally relevant to our students so they feel accepted and valued. Meyer educates us in the issues surrounding sexual diversity. Many more individuals are identifying themselves with a variety of identities. There are different forms of discrimination that those who have different sexual identities face, as well as the laws protecting these individuals. As educators, it is necessary to become well-versed in the vocabulary and regulations so that we can ensure these individuals receive an education free of discrimination. These students deserve a quality education as well, and as educators, we need to provide it. Schools need to provide the appropriate training needed for educators to best handle these situations as not to offend or alienate these students. We need to ensure an inviting educational atmosphere for all, and to do so, we must educate ourselves in the process. Harrower provides insight into the inclusion of special education students within a general education classroom. Through the research, there were many positive results for special education students to be included in the general education classroom. All students learn how to socialize and become aware of one another. All children receive an education and no one loses any instruction because of a child with disabilities. It is essential to collaboratively plan with the special education teacher as well as receive the necessary training and resources to be an effective teacher. Students with disabilities should not be discriminated against due to their disability. Prensky informs us that our teaching must change and match the ever-evolving technology. Our lessons need to be as engaging as the video games they play while at home. Therefore, our students deserve our best teaching. Many teachers are afraid of shifting their mindset to incorporate more technology for fear of losing control of the classroom. This unfortunately is hindering our students' ability to learn, only allowing them to be compliant. Prensky brings to our attention that if we were to allow our students to collaborate with us and create a 21st century learning environment, students would become more engaged and contribute to our lessons. This course has prepared me with many new educational tools and knowledge that I will need in becoming a reading specialist, as well as implement or continue using within my classroom. The readings have provided me with the foundation and continuing education to become an effective teacher and future leader. Throughout this project, I was able to review the information presented and learn new things I may have missed the first time I read. Therefore, some of my reflections throughout this project have changed a bit. Though I may not fully agree with all the theorists, I still did find value in what was shared. It is essential to question the information taught and ask the question why, so that I can understand and grow as a learner, teacher, and future reading specialist.